but they didn't do it. It's a military-industrial complex that did it. And so we found this and other links to directed energy research and companies. I say we'll jump back now, jump forward again. So we were looking what energy effects might be responsible for these things at the World Trade Center, and then we revisited something called the Hutchison Effect. And I don't know if anyone's heard of the Hutchison Effect.
Yeah, I've seen about him. He's a Canadian.
That's right.
So a scientist.
Yes.
Inventor. Is that the one where things get bent and defies gravity? And yeah, I've seen a bit about it, but not in relation to 9/11.
Okay, well you've hit on a couple of the key points, because I'd heard of John Hutchison and the Hutchison Effect. As you say, he levitates things. He's created an anti-gravity effect. Now, he's been doing this for almost 30 years. He started in 1979. I first heard about him in about 1998 or 1999, that sort of time. And there was a documentary on Channel 5, I think it was, called $1 Billion Secret. And it was about the US black budget, and it was a documentary which was made by Nick Cook, who's a defence journalist. So this had a short section on John Hutchison's work and how a Lockheed Martin scientist called Boyd Bushman had taken the Hutchison experiment seriously, and they showed some film of Hutchison levitating a cannonball and making these metal samples bend for no apparent reason. And of course one immediately thinks of Uri Geller, and his spoon bending sort of talents, as it were. People have likened it to that, this spoon bending act.
It's the Hutchison Effect.
That's right, that was the Elizabeth Effect.
Sorry.
That's all right.
We'll
So
have to edit it again.
yeah, probably. Yeah. So we then found, or Judy had found, that we had a couple of things with the Hutchison Effect in common with 9/11, because we got pictures from NIST where the steel beams were bent into a horseshoe shape, literally bent into a curved horseshoe shape. How could this happen if the building was collapsing, or indeed being blown apart by explosives? How could it happen? And then we found in the pictures, or Judy had found in pictures, cars. Not only the toasted cars, but we got about 5 cars which were upside down. We had a car that was the right way up, and a car that was upside down, and another car that was the right way up. What can selectively turn cars upside down?
Yeah.
How about a levitation effect? Now, when I saw this, and I knew about the Hutchison Effect, I really knew about that, and I saw this picture, and I'd already seen the pictures of these upside down cars previously, because Judy had pointed them out. I thought, this is it. This is what they used. They used, and I knew at that point that we cracked it. We knew that they'd used some technology which was related to the Hutchison Effect to destroy the towers. There was no doubt in my mind at that point. And then we found some other points. John had done another experiment where he'd made a circular hole. He'd made a hole in an aluminium can. And Judy had got this picture of an ambulance, and we had exactly the same sort of hole in the metal cover of this ambulance, with like a sort of frazzled effect round the outside of the hole. And we'd seen all these other bent metal effects. And we'd also noticed a report about the Hutchison Effect, which we'd found earlier on, said that when the samples were subjected to the Hutchison Effect, they would either levitate and fly up, or they would disrupt and the metal would disintegrate or bend or jellify or whatever. So it seemed like there was some kind of energy phenomenon happening, in that the energy was either going into the sample and making it, disrupt or jellify or what have you, or it would levitate, and in which case if the sample levitated there wouldn't be that much damage done to it. And then we went back and we looked at the cars, and sure enough, most of the cars that were upside down weren't really that toasted, and the tyres were all intact, but the ones that were badly damaged and were the right way up and hadn't apparently levitated, they were very badly damaged. So we had another data point that corresponded. Then also, one of the other big ones was fires. John had sent us this video of a toy boat experiment. He got a boat which I think had aluminium on the exterior, and he put it in a tank of water, and then he subjected it to his beams of energy, which is a combination of electrostatic charge and an RF field, a radio frequency field that he uses, and we'd seen spontaneous fires. We've got this video of this boat. I'll show you this later. And we can see these spontaneous fires coming up on this boat, and they're like an orange colour. And pictures from the World Trade Center that we've got these orange fires on the cars. And we've got these orange fires right next to paper. You remember all the sheets of paper that were blowing around after the event? But this paper's not on fire. How is it that the metal is burning?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it looks like. The metal is burning, but the paper isn't. It's a cold fire. It's a cold fire. Some type of ongoing nuclear reaction. And the next data point we got from John was that when he switched his equipment off, the effects that he was observing didn't always stop. They went on. The metal samples will continue to jellify or degrade or change, even though the energy had been removed.
Yeah.
There was an ongoing effect, and it was termed a non-self-quenching effect. In other words, something that didn't run out by itself, it carried on. Now, Judy had already been to New York in October 2007 and seen that they were trucking dirt, going back to this compost dirt, they were trucking this into the site and trucking it out again a few days later, like changing nappies, changing diapers. What was that all about?
Yeah. Putting out the fires.
Well, yeah, maybe so. You know that in a decontaminated and radioactive site, they will mix up dirt and then take the dirt away to take the radioactivity away with it, and then go and treat that somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what seemed to be going on at Ground Zero, and we've seen that ongoing. In fact, I went there on 17th of January this year, 2008, and they were still trucking dirt out of the site. We didn't see them taking it in, but we saw them trucking out this mud in the back of these trucks, and I filmed it. I also videoed them hosing down a cable. They were hosing down a cable that was hanging from a crane. Now, why would you want to have it hose down a cable that's hanging from a crane? Perhaps because there is a risk that it's got some type of ongoing infection in there. And the other evidence that we have that things are not at all well at Ground Zero is the Bankers Trust building, the Deutsche Bank building. That's a thing that people don't really know much about, hasn't been spoken about much. The Deutsche Bank building was damaged during the destruction of the World Trade Center, and there was a big gash taken out of the front. In about 2005, by about 2005, they'd repaired this building. We've got pictures of this repair having taken place, and all the floors have been redone. But then they said a while later that this building had got a mould infection, and now it's been dismantled piece by piece. We've got about 20 stories to go. They're taking it all apart. Why do you repair a building and then take it down? When, of course, we know that it was just a fire that destroyed the World Trade Center. How does that cause a mould infection in the Bankers Trust? Well, we would contend that it's an ongoing nuclear reaction that's infected the steel girders in the Bankers Trust building.
Yeah.
That's what we think has happened.
So it's no longer safe.
It's no longer safe, so they're having to deal with it and take it apart.
Interesting to speak to people from that building.
We're going to New York quite soon.
We are, yeah.
Yeah. You go and have a look. You'll probably find it's down to about 10 or 15 stories by the time you get there.
Right.
And they're still hosing down the site. They're hosing down the World Trade Center site regularly. We filmed them doing it. Why are they hosing down a building site all the time?
Yeah, it's not burning anymore.
Yeah.
No.
6 years later. So we've got a number of data points which correspond here. Now, to bring you right up to date, we posted this information in January. Well, it's actually posted on Christmas Day originally. And we wrote a press release which was posted at the end of January, so that's only about 6 weeks ago, something like that. And I was still a member of this scholars group, or rather one side of it. It split into two halves. The Steve Jones side still pushing the thermite story, and that story which is bogus, or doesn't really have any evidence. We know that it's connected to the energy situation. But what we now posted, and what I said on air in Washington DC on Ambrose Lane's programme when I went on with Judy Wood, was that we now know that free energy is